Well, hello there. Good evening. Today is Monday, July 20th, 5 p.m. And we're here at the Check Drop. This is our weekly podcast for summitcomedy.com. And we interview comedians from all over the country to entertain you. And if you're bored and want to listen to some great comedian stories. And today we have a very special guest. I'm going to give you his brief bio. And this guy's great. I've known this guy for as long as I've been doing booking comedy. And I guess he's best known for his Dodge Hemi commercials. And we can talk about that in a bit. But he's also on the ABC sitcom Rodney Carrington, another very funny comedian. And he was also one of the Last Comic Standing winners for season 2007, fifth season. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's give it up and enter into the podcast, Mr. Jon Reep. Jon Reep.
Well, hey, buddy.
Hey, man. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm okay. I'm doing okay. I feel good today. Today, I feel pretty good. How about you?
I am pretty good as well. 2020, it's just a mixed bag of roller coaster scenarios, and it changes minute by minute.
It
by
does.
Hour, I guess.
The numbers keep changing, rules keep changing, people's attitudes keep changing. I can't keep up with it, man. I can't keep up with my own life, the own stuff I got going on right now. So it's tough.
So tell me about it. I mean, I just saw on Facebook that your dad is COVID positive, so that's really shitty. And I'm sorry for your family, and tell us about all that.
I can walk you through that. So not only my dad, but me, my brother, and my mother are all tested positive for COVID.
Oh, you did as well. Oh,
I did. Crazy thing is, my dad got it, and we're not even allowed to go near him. My dad lives in a skilled nursing facility ever since he had a stroke. So he's paralyzed on his left side. He had a stroke about 2 years ago. And since the pandemic, we're not allowed to go there. I got tested positive probably the 3rd of July. Is when I got, that's when I took the test, and it came back positive. It took a while to get the results, but I was positive on the 3rd of July.
Now, why'd you go take the test? Did you have
I felt like crap. Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't done I've only done one gig since February. And my philosophy on this was, I'm not going to be the one to cancel the gig. So it's kind of like playing chicken with the venues that I.
What was the one gig?
You want to take a guess? This could be fun.
All right, what state was it in?
Now, this one you should know.
Okay.
Florida.
So the Comedy Zone in Jacksonville, Florida.
No, it was actually Tampa
Side Splitters. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So a lot of gigs got canceled before this. I was supposed to be in Los Angeles doing a bunch of crap. I mean, things started getting canceled for me in March. But I told my manager and my agents, I'm like, that's cool. I get it. Makes sense. But I'm not canceling. So if these gigs are going to go away, it's because they're going to pick up the phone and say, hey, we have to reschedule. I'm like, okay, cool. So the only one that did not do that was Tampa.
And when was that? How far?
March. How far? I'm sorry. Hang on. What's today? Today is,
July 20th.
My concept of time is gone.
Right.
This gig happened June 11, 12, 13, 14.
Okay. Were you one of the first ones back for that club?
Yeah. One of the first headliners. Yeah.
Okay.
They were doing local stuff here and there. Trying to figure it out. But so Florida opened up quick, that first wave of openness. They were like, let's go. And I said, oh, shit, let's go. And
jokes must be told. Yeah. I'm there.
Yeah. But also, I have my own mask that I made. My merch guy's like, hey, some people are making their own masks. You want to get in the mask business? I was like, well, it'll probably be cured by the time you get these masks made. He goes, well, let's try it out. So I have these masks. It's actually my face, although it's zoomed way too in. Yeah, my nose is way too big and my mouth is way too big. I look more like an orangutan from every which way but loose.
So something tells me you did not get that mask for the weekend in Florida.
Oh, I did. I got it in time, and I sold a bunch of these.
Do you feel like that's where you got your COVID-19 in
Well,
Florida?
that's what I thought. I thought probably so. So I came back and I got tested at CVS, and I got tested on the let's see here. I got tested on the 16th of June, and that test came back negative. So
Okay.
I did not have it. Now at this point, I didn't know anybody in my town who had it either. And now things are starting to slowly open up. Hickory has a nice downtown area where there's picnic tables and you can just bring your own food with your friends. And so it was kind of nice to get out and do that. And I did that. And then I found out later that one of those friends, unbeknownst to them, had it, and then they tested positive. I'm like, oh, great. We were sharing an appetizer.
Don't you feel like this whole scenario with the mask and such, like if it's if it's with somebody you know, you're like, it's okay. I know Billy. I've known him my whole life or whatever. And then you catch it and you're like,
Yeah. Well, this person that tested positive is one of my best friend's wife. So I like saying, I got this from your wife, dude. like I possibly hooked up with her. But no, I think that's where I got it. And then, so on the 2nd or 3rd of July, I started feeling really bad. I had all these big 4th of July plans. I was going to rent a pontoon boat, take it out to Lake Hickory with like 6 of my friends. We're going to have a great 4th of July. And then I started feeling like crap. I had a fever of like 100.3. Every muscle in my body started hurting really bad. I had a very bad headache. I could hardly walk. And so I got tested. I went to urgent care because the doctor's office was closed because it was a holiday. So I went to urgent care and got tested. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to act like I have it. And then the results came back, and I do have it. But that's been since the 3rd. Right now, I feel fine. So when you asked me earlier, how are you? Like, today's a good day for me. I think I'm done with it. My taste buds are probably at about 80% now.
Okay.
It did affect my taste and my smell.
So that was 17 days ago. So in theory, the 14-day quarantine wasn't quite enough for you if you're still having the side effects.
I think that's one thing that lingers more. This is what I've been told from people who've had it, is like the taste. It takes a little while for the taste to come back 100%. And also, I got tested again Saturday. I don't have those results. I want to be able to tell people, for sure, I do not have COVID anymore. Even though I could get it at the same time as I'm saying that I could get it again. I got the blood test, the antibodies test. And they're going to tell me whether or not I have the antibodies that, will prevent me from getting it, or could help. Maybe the plasma. It'd be great to have that plasma, Well,
so, have they proven that fact yet, that if you get it, you can't get it again? Or
no,
is that still a myth?
It's not 100%. I've been told that, if you do have the antibodies, then they can maybe last in your system for a week or 3 weeks. And then once they go away, you could get them again. I mean, you could get the virus again. So I don't think anybody knows anything 100% what's going on. That's why it's just better to be safe,
Right. So are you just taking time off now? Like even if somebody, say another club wanted you, you're like, no, I'm going to stay home for a while.
That's a good question, because now I feel good again.
You're like, I need to go tell some jokes.
It's nice to work. It's not normal for me not to be doing stand up at least every other weekend.
For any of us, I mean, whether I'm not booking comedy or you're telling jokes, it's just, it's in our blood. That's our careers. So how many people have been sidelined now because of this? So
no, it's 100%. It's just weird. And so my next gig was supposed to be in Washington. They already canceled that one, so I didn't have to do it.
Okay.
My next official gig that's on the books is in August, so we'll see how it plays out. But I'll make that decision closer to that time. If I do take the gig, I will be extra safe this time.
Yeah, you don't want like a DL Hughley scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
I saw the video. That's crazy. I wish I had got mine on video so I could have gone viral.
Right, because he did so much press after that. So
Mhm.
yeah, maybe you could just fake that for the next one
I
on
should.
your August show.
I should. I somehow got to figure that out.
Did
But the
you?
good thing about all this is that it's freed up a lot of time. Before I got sick, because we've been like on lockdown since what, March?
Right, March.
Um,
Well, it's right before my birth. It was the day before my
oh
birthday,
yeah,
March
that's right.
13th. March 14th, my wife took me out to a brewery that was about to shut down. And oh, the brewery gig that you did for me,
Yeah,
that has a beer named after you,
that's
26
right.
Acres.
It's nice.
Yeah, so that's how long we've been locked in.
Yeah, so it's I've been trying to stay sane. What I do is creatively, I work on this podcast, but also my brother, he's like a gym rat, right? He's like a CrossFit guy.
Okay.
He's very healthy. And once they canceled all the gyms, he started like jonesing, and he made a gym out of his garage. And he's like, "Why don't you come over and we'll do some workouts in my garage?" And for a couple of months, I was the healthiest I'd ever been, man. I'd lost like 15 pounds. I was doing CrossFit. I was doing all kinds of burpees and EMOMs and AMRAPs and all this stuff. And then I got sick and I lost it all. So, but yeah, it's just really, really weird. It's, I feel like we're in
I've
some
been
weird
joking
mind
that
blender.
I've gained the COVID 19 pounds. That's
Mm-hmm.
some people went hard on the exercising. I went hard on the
Yeah.
cocktails and bread.
Have you been going out doing anything? Are you quarantining? Are you worried about getting sick?
You know what? Was designated the hunter and gatherer out of the gate. My wife said, go out and get the milk and bread, that kind of scenario. And I was always pretty good. Always wore a mask. I'm still doing that. We went on our first trip this weekend. We went to Wilmington and went to the beach, and there was a wedding we went to.
Oh.
And I'm not going to tell you whose wedding because I don't want to throw them under the bus, but it was the craziest shit I've seen, like as far as people like, in the city, just not, wearing masks and just
Yeah.
gathering, acting like nothing was going on. And then we just kind of just went right back to our hotel room and just holed up in there. So it's awkward. And
That's how it was when I was in Florida. It was as if nothing was going on. I saw maybe 3 masks, and even me, like I just gotten so my normal habit of meeting and greeting and shaking hands, and I'm trying to sell masks, so I'm standing out there.
right.
Technically, I should have gotten it in Florida, but I think I came back negative. But yeah, it's weird. I don't get mad at people for not wearing it because I remember when I flew to Florida, it was weird having to wear it, like because eyeballs are on you. You're at the airport, you can't get on that plane without one, unless they've changed that. I don't know,
I think
but
so. Are you
but
you trying to sell your mask while waiting
oh,
online to get on?
well, see, now when I fly, I don't want to talk to anybody, so I did not wear this one because
Yeah,
this would
because that
open up a
draws
conversation.
attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the good thing is you can put it on back reverse, and it's just a white mask.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's actually 2 masks.
It's a good
But
selling point there.
thank you. Wait, it's 3 masks because if you want to frown, you just put it upside down, and see my nose becomes a chin.
You have all the selling points just taken care of already. So,
But yeah, it was I had to wear it, and I was like, oh man, this is really a pain in the ass because I burped in it a couple times, and it was just very uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. So I understand why people are like, no, I'm not wearing it, and I don't. I mean, you should wear it. I think people should wear it, definitely in public, but I understand why they wouldn't want to.
right.
But I would never get mad at them for wearing a mask. Now that one has been puzzling the crap out of me. Why anyone would get mad at someone for wearing a mask? Like calling them sheep and stuff. I'm like,
Right.
I'm trying to save your life, dumbass.
Right. And so when you see that, you just know that this isn't going away anytime soon. I mean, you just got to wait for the vaccine, I guess. That's what we're going to wait for.
Yeah,
So,
I saw a post. I saw a post too. Someone said like, if you're mad at me right now for not wearing a mask, think of how mad you're going to be when I don't get the vaccine. I'm like, oh, what? Who is this? There are people who think that way.
I've seen that as well. People kind of referring to like, when you download like Windows 10, like, oh, don't be the first one because it's got all the kinks and the viruses in it. It's like, I'm not gonna be that first one.
Right.
I've heard people say that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
nice.
it's nuts. And even when I went to Tampa, you know how it is when you don't do stand up for a while, you really have to like go over
You're
your set.
you're
Like
rusty.
you get rusty. It's like use it or lose it, right? So I remember being in the green room, and I should have prepared way before this, but I've always crammed, at the last minute. But I'm at the green room, I'm at the club in the green room, and I'm trying to write down my set. I'm thinking, oh man, okay, so what am I gonna? I'll do this. I'll do this. And as I'm sitting here trying to write my set list, not only did I forget some of my bits, I forgot what I called the bits. So I was trying to write down just the title of a bit. I'm like, what do I call that? And
Nike shoe. It's just numbers or letters.
Yeah,
And then you're trying to refer back to them.
Yeah, I got one called the Hickory Head Shake, and I'm like, what do I call that? Oh, the Hemi thing. Okay, so it was really tough. It was really strange. I mean, you could always tell. Like, if you ever come see me at a comedy club, and you hear me go, yeah, but it's really crazy right now, huh? Whew. Then
weather.
I have forgotten what I'm doing, and I'm stalling. And I did that 4 times on that Thursday show was tough. I don't know how many times I stopped and did that. Yeah, but and then I say, any questions?
Check out my mask. Why does he keep talking about his mask?
Mm-hmm.
Speed bump.
Yeah, at one point by Friday, I had gained some confidence. I had gotten better. I put this mask on, and I told him just to start playing one of my comedy bits, and I was going to make it look like you can't tell if my mouth is moving, So
Yeah.
it's like it's already like a bit that I've already recorded, and I'm
You're
doing
like
it right there. Yeah, like
a ventriloquist
right?
dummy.
Exactly.
You're Jeff Dunham all of a sudden.
That's right.
Now, have you tried the Zoom comedy? Like I know so many people have tried to profit from.
No, I'm not going to do that. In fact, I actually ended up canceling a Zoom gig, because they wanted me to do material. I said, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
I'll talk to you. We'll have a conversation. I'll try to be funny in that conversation. But if you want me to perform to a camera with no one in the room and weird delays going on, I'm not doing that. But I've seen it, and I've seen people attempt it, and it's weird. It doesn't look great.
Yeah. I think everybody's just pivoting as the best they can.
Right.
I mean, if you need the funds to eat, I do not hold it against anybody that's trying to do that. I'm selling some virtual comedy same way.
Yeah.
The demand is there. I know you used to do the college market quite a bit. So
Yeah.
the college market is in a weird scenario where they are getting ready to go back to school, and the student activities directors for these schools are obviously hired to do just that, entertain these students and engage them. And so virtual events are being sold.
I've definitely fantasized about that just so I wouldn't have to travel. So I need to get over that. And I've seen a couple of videos. I think I saw Taylor Tomlinson do a thing where she was standing on a stage, and there were like these monitors all around her of other people's faces.
Yes.
Which made a virtual crowd. I'm sure she wasn't in a room with all those monitors. That was probably a green screen situation, but
it actually is a monitored room. I've seen I guess the promo reel. I think it's the Gersh agency, who I believe you
I used to be with.
Yeah. So I believe it's Gersh that they have created a studio where their clients go in and perform just for that. So it's basically a Zoom show, but they've created a wall of video, I guess, monitors.
Gosh, can you imagine?
They were quick. They were quick to pivot and do that. And again, kudos for their innovation for doing that. They have a really nice sound and lights, and they just created this studio.
I need to go check that out, because I'm curious how it seems for the comic, because we feed on the laughter, right? Like as soon as you tell a joke and the laugh happens, it worked and you can move on or whatever. But I'm wondering how that plays out when you're standing there in front of the monitors. I guess each monitor has its own sound, and I can imagine you're doing something. All of a sudden, a baby come running in, someone else's Zoom, or like a dog jumps on a computer. There's a lot more distractions that could probably happen.
Yeah, I don't know if each one has their own sound or if it's just all pumped in together. I did, because the promo reel I saw that was pretty short, so I did notice that it's almost odd that the talent, the comedians, their back is turned to the camera, yet they're talking to individual screens so they can see the names of the people that are watching.
So you can see their names.
Yeah, so you can say, "Hey, Karen," and just talk to her directly and such. But again, I mean,
I've thought about this for a long time, just because I hated the travel part of doing the gig. We all love the gig, but we hate getting there. You know, that's the hard part. That's what they say we get paid for, is traveling. But how far away from the hologram situation? I feel like we could do holograms.
Well, that's funny that you say that word, because my wife and I have always talked. My company's done pretty well over the last 22 years, and I've always wondered, like, hey, I feel like I'm one of the smarter people in the room as far as outwitting my competition to stay afloat and stay trendy and always find the next Jon Reep or whatever like comedian it is to, especially in the college market, you're always looking for that next great act. But I always thought about what is the thing that could take me down, and you don't want to be Blockbuster Video, right? That you just turn your back on something and you just get past. And I said, I used to always say holograms. That's the only thing I could think of. Like, maybe holograms will like put me out of business.
Oh, right. Well, so you and I both have to invest in the hologram stock.
I guess so.
Or something.
I don't know what's next. Who knows? I don't like this.
Yeah.
No comedian I know likes this.
No.
I know one comedian, Colin Moulton. You know him?
Yeah, I know Colin.
He says he loves the virtual shows. So,
well, maybe I should try one out. I just don't like the way that they've looked. I don't know if you know this much either. I should catch you up on all this. So I moved out of Los Angeles a couple of years ago because of many factors. One, Dad's health. So now I can't even tell people I'm a comedian anymore. I can tell them I'm an Uber care, like a elder care Uber driver, because all I do is take my mom to eye doctors, appointments, skilled nursing facilities, hospital visits. Then I get eye drops. I go to CVS and get drugs.
I thought you were going to say you were an Uber driver. That would actually be kind of funny.
No, but I did think about doing this on my podcast, and I think every comedian should do it, is we all try to go get our first job back. Like the one that you quit to do stand-up. Okay. Go back and try and get that job. And,
that's actually a great show to pitch, a little network show, when those happen again.
Mine would be Chick-fil-A.
Okay. That was the job you quit?
I'm sorry. That wouldn't be. No, the one I quit was in Raleigh. I'm thinking because now I'm back in Hickory. See, I moved out of Hickory in 1992. And then I moved to Raleigh, and I went to school at NC State. And I lived in Raleigh because that's when I started doing stand-up as well. So I graduated, but I stayed there. I lived there for about 8 years. And then in 2000, I moved to Los Angeles. And I was there for 18 years. So I've not even lived in Hickory since 1992. And now I'm back here, and I'm living here. I'm in the same room I grew up in. It's really weird. So for me, it'd be kind of funny to get the very first job I had in Hickory, which would have been a Chick-fil-A. But the last job I had was working at a TV station in Raleigh, and I was working at PBS.
Now, what was the first time? I assume Charlie Goodnight's was the first stage you got on?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Being from Raleigh. So.
Yep. That's I was going to school at NC State. I was a theater major, class clown in high school. Everyone said, "You're funny, you should do stand up." And in my brain, I thought, "Oh, that's cool. That's a crazy dream I'll fantasize about." Because in my brain, those places only existed in LA or New York. I've just seen it on Tonight shows. I didn't know there were clubs all over the country. And so when I go to Raleigh and I notice someone says, "Yeah, there's a comedy club here. It's like supposed to be one of the best ones." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? We have a comedy club? Who comes here?" And
A lot
so,
of people. It's a nice club.
yeah. Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, a lot of people came there. So I'm like, well, now I have to go there. And I remember the first time I stepped foot in that place, I was just curious. I had no money. The show had already started. And I just asked the lady at the ticket booth, I said, I don't want to buy a ticket. I mean, I really just want to stick my head in the door and see what it looks like in there. And she goes,
She's like, no, you're buying a ticket.
well, she was nice. She goes, fine. And she just opened the door, and I put my head in, and I saw there was a comedian on stage. I have no idea who it was. It was a female comedian, and the place was packed. And she told a joke, and the whole room just busted out laughing. And I looked at the round. I was like, oh, my God, I'm addicted to this. So now
what year was that?
That would have been, let's see here, moved there in night. So that would have been probably 95.
Okay.
And I remember thinking to myself in that moment, now I have the possibility to pursue this fantasy, but I also got scared because now I have the possibility to screw it up at the same time. It happened like that. I was happy 1 second, and the next second I was very sad and scared because in my brain, I was already successful. I was doing the Tonight Show. I already had my own sitcom. It was great. I was funny.
And now, you were in college there?
Yeah.
Still?
And now it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, go ahead. Try it. See how good you are. And now I know, like, fuck, it's going to be hard. And I got to figure it out. And so that's what I did for a couple of years.
Yeah, a good comedian makes it look so easy and seamless. Like they just was rambling off the top of their head and making everybody laugh.
I think I fell in love with just how powerful it was. You know, like this girl had the command of 300 people, and they were hanging on her every word. And she said 2 or 3 things, and they all laughed at the exact same time. I'm like, how do you do that? It's like a wizard.
And you don't remember who that was?
No.
Now, I'm trying to remember the first time I met you. It was in Charlotte. There was a competition. Judy Brown was in town, who is now your manager, right?
Yeah, it's
Which
crazy.
Is funny. She was in town. She was casting for the HBO Comedy Fest for Aspen.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I met you. And I remember seeing you get up on stage at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte, the old one on Independence Boulevard. And you got up there, and I think it was only like a minute or 2 minute audition. And I remember you got off stage and you said, "My name's Jon Reep. That was the first time I've ever been on stage." And you walked off. And I was like, is he serious? Like,
I must have not had a good set in my brain, and that was like my excuse. Like, just if it was in Charlotte, I remember that. I remember going there and doing that, and I didn't get picked to make it to the next round in Charlotte. I think I had an okay set, and who knows what I said at the end. I probably did say that.
I want to say that was around 98.
Okay, that sounds about right.
I don't know. I mean,
but I did do well. I went to another audition. I would chase these places around. So there was one in Charlotte. There was one in Nashville.
Okay.
So I went to the one in Nashville, and there I did make it to the. I actually ended up winning the one in Nashville,
Nice.
and then chose to make it to the next round of auditions in Los Angeles or whatever.
I just remember because you were there. I met you. Daniel Tosh was at that one as well.
Oh, wow. That's right.
Because I remember going out to lunch with Daniel Tosh, Kenny Smith, and a couple other comedians. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy. The amount of talent that was there that, moved up the ladder down the road. And just
I got to tell you this one. When in Nashville, I had a good set, and now the show's over, right? And they needed someone to go back on stage and kill time while the judges figured out who was going to win the whole thing. And they just picked a random comic who lived there, a guy by the name of J. Scott Holman.
Oh, yeah. I heard he just passed away.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Sad.
He wasn't a part of this competition. He was just there. And so they said, well, you come up here and kill time.
He was amazing.
He was the funniest guy. He was the funniest guy that night.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, I am so happy he's not a part of this competition because he definitely would have won.
He was one of those comedians where, it's you wonder why he's not famous, but there's a million of those guys.
Yeah.
Just didn't make it through the ranks for whatever reason. He was so good.
He was great. He was really funny. When he was on, he was unbeatable. But when he was off, it was sad. Because I could on a 2-night show, that first show, like 7 o'clock, he would destroy. And then that 9:30, 9 o'clock show, he would just start getting into the alcohol or whatever. And you couldn't comprehend what he said. And it was kind of sad. But yeah, he died. I think I'm not 100% sure. Maybe in pancreatic cancer or liver failure.
I heard it was some kind of cancer.
Yeah.
So that's sad.
Yeah, very sad.
We just brought it to a screeching.
Yeah, a lot of comedians have been dying recently.
Not on stage. Nobody's getting on stage.
Their careers.
So, all right, let's pivot a bit. So, I mean, one of the most things you're famous for is those Dodge commercials. I mean, how huge was that? Because that was before your last, or the last comic standing.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
So I feel like you're more known for that than your last comic standing win.
Probably so. I think you're right, definitely, because those commercials. So I ended up doing 6 of them, and they aired from like 2002 to about 2006 or 7, right? And it was before TiVo, really. So like the first 3, you couldn't even fast forward through them, and they were on every channel. They aired it a lot. So my face would pop up on your TV whether you wanted to see it or not. Right. Last comic standing, you had to choose to go watch that. You know what I mean? So I think my face definitely, that was the first thing I did where people recognized my face. I remember that first commercial. I remember sitting in a beat up Duster. I'm in the middle of a desert in Palmdale, California with this other actor who I didn't know. And I'm thinking to myself, this is great. I'm the fattest I've ever been. I look like crap. I've got these weird side chops and crazy hair. I was just thinking to myself, no one's going to know what a Hemi is, and I'm going to look like crap. And I just want this day to be over with. I'm glad I got the gig, but let's just, let's get back to stand up or something. And I couldn't have been more wrong. It was like one of those commercials that just took off.
But that was what the whole thing is. Nobody knew what the hell a Hemi is. And probably still don't, but they know that you created that character, and even if they don't remember you, if you said that thing got a Hemi, they know that line. It's kind of like, where's the beef? You might not recognize the old lady from the Wendy's commercials or whatever, but they know the line.
That's true. And it's also, there are a lot of like Mopar, like gearheads, NASCAR truck guys so the Hemi engine apparently was a big deal back in the day when Richard Petty won all the NASCAR races. What made him the king of NASCAR was this Hemi engine. I'm not really a big car guy, but everyone thinks I am because of this commercial.
Right.
But really, I wasn't like a crazy nut about it. But apparently this commercial struck a chord because finally the Hemi engine, which had been outlawed in NASCAR and just sort of like is a gas guzzler, so they just stopped making them. But apparently these gearheads loved it, and now I'm reintroducing it to the world, and it's in a truck, and people just like, oh hell yeah, and it just they sold more trucks.
Blowing brains, they're all just excited.
Apparently, there's numbers, there's tests that they've done that I was told by some marketing guy that in terms of a commercial selling the product. Like in the automotive world, there's nothing like it that had ever been done up to that point, which is why they kept making them. They didn't know they was going to do 6.
Well, that was my next question. As an agent, I always ask the money question. So did you sign a one commercial deal or multiple ones?
It was one because they had no clue they were going to do more.
All right. So then after that one, I assume you didn't get paid a whole lot for that one. And then you're like, wait, this shit's taken off and it's me.
I'll tell you, I got paid probably $3,000 for the first one.
Jesus.
That's just for being there.
Plus residuals, though, on the back
end?
end?
Residuals are different. The residuals went through the roof. But in terms of just being there, it's like the minimum, whatever the Screen Actors Guild minimum was.
Yeah.
And so, and I had a good agent because, he's like, okay, well, if they do another one, we'll get them for some more. And so they kept, they didn't know how big it was going to be. They asked me for another one. He doubled that that amount, and we didn't know there'd be a third. And so by the time the third one came along, I said, yeah, see if you can get a vehicle. That'd be nice. I'd kind of like to have a new vehicle.
This is on number 3, or
this was number 3.
Okay, yeah. That's about right. I would ask for a vehicle around
on 3.
number 3. Yeah.
And so, I was still living in Los Angeles. I didn't have a great ride at the time. And anyway, he called him up, and this is how good the agent was. Like, he made it sound like it was their problem. Like, he called them up and said, hey, I don't know if you know this, but your spokesman, your Dodge Hemi guy, is driving around Los Angeles right now in a Suzuki Sidekick. They're like, what?
That is a great agent right there.
Yeah, like, they're like, we can't have anything to that. Yeah.
He's got to have the product that he's selling. Yeah. It's like the Verizon guy, like, holding a Sprint phone or whatever. You have to have the product that you're walking around selling.
But he made the point, too. He's like, well, this guy's a stand-up. He tours all over the country. People are going to see him. Don't you want him in the product that he's, and they're like, yeah. And so like they scrambled that day, and I ended up getting a brand new Dodge Ram 1500 quad cab.
Oh, that's awesome.
Chrome wheels. It was black. It was nice. Got it that day. Went down there and just signed paperwork. Came back with a new truck.
Paid the taxes and everything on it? They just gave it to you?
Yeah, I had to pay, it was like a partial payment of them paying me for the third one. But it was like the bare minimum,
It's still a great story. I mean, what a cool gift.
Yeah, it was great. I had it for a while. And then that thing, driving that big truck in Los Angeles was a pain in the ass. The parking spaces in LA are tiny. I'd go to the Comedy Store and I'd roll up, and these guys would look at me like, man, please don't pull that in here. There's no place for us to put it.
Yeah, there's no room.
Yeah, and it was just got to be a pain in the butt. So I had it for a little while and I got rid of it.
I could already see you, like, I don't know if you did this, but this would have been a great marketing too for every club you went to go into every Dodge dealership during the day on the weekends and doing a meet and greet or just calling everyone and say, hey, you paid me $3,000. I'll come hang out for an hour.
Well, I did that. I actually did do that. I would call up.
I was thinking I was being innovative there for you, John.
Well, you are, but it had been done. But that's great minds think alike. That's what that is. But yeah, there were times where the club and or the radio station, or me or my agent would arrange something like that, where it'd be like, well, if we're going to do radio to promote the show, why don't we do a remote? And why don't we call up the dealership? And you'll go down to Dodge dealership. We'll do a live radio thing. Come on down, meet the Hemi guy. Oh, by the way, you can see him at the Comedy Zone. Symmetry. Everybody helping each other.
They're like, wait, he's a comedian?
Right. 100%. There were tons of people who had no idea. And I totally used it to get people in the club. This is before, honestly, before I did the Dodge commercials, I had done one thing on television.
That was from 2004 to 2006, right? The commercials?
The commercials, 2002 to about 2006. Okay. I did 6 of those. I did 6 of them. And so they, but prior to that, the only thing I had done on television was one late night thing. And I think maybe I had a Comedy Central Presents, but those are around the same time. But most people didn't see that. They just know me from the commercial. So what I would do is, bill myself as the Hemi guy. I'd be like, yeah, come see Jon Reep, the Hemi guy. People are like, oh, that guy. Okay. So out of curiosity, people would come into clubs sometimes just because they liked the commercial. And then they would find out, oh, shit, this guy's got an act.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on posters for the college market and such too. That. Yeah.
It's just whatever it took to get people in the door.
Yeah. Whatever you need to do. Whatever it takes is what we say.
I heard this story about Larry the Cable Guy, how he had used his real name most of his career, and he was just doing that Larry the Cable Guy as a character. And then one day the guy at the club, was Les McCurdy at McCurdy's in Sarasota, Florida, said, what if we just bill you as Larry the Cable Guy? Just get rid of your name. No one knows that.
Yeah, and then, Dan Whitney is his name.
That's right. And then after that, he's Larry the Cable Guy forever.
I have a headshot still somewhere that says that. The Dan Whitney.
Yeah, it says Dan Whitney. Who the hell's that? Right. He was the diesel.
Yeah. So that's crazy. So so you pivoted and then you moved to LA and Is that a good
Yeah,
move for you? Do you feel like that helped that? Because obviously now you're coming back to Hickory. And
yeah.
you can answer that first, and then I do want to talk about Hickory because I just feel like you have put that town on the map more than any other place. I mean, even in the comments here, like Hank Denson, Hickory, everybody just knows it. Like you
Yeah,
just,
Hickory.
yeah, the way you
Yeah.
say it, it's just,
Well, I blame Last Comic Standing for that one because I've talked about Hickory in my act many many times. It's one of my first jokes was talking about where I'm from, and so when I got on Last Comic Standing, I did that bit, and when I said Hickory, I shook my head, and now that's part of the bit. But what they did on Last Comic Standing was they used that as a promo, right? So every episode, they'd be like, and coming up next, we got the guy from Hickory, and me saying Hickory. So I said Hickory every episode, even though I only said it one time. They aired it so many times that what used to be part of the setup is now the punchline. So now when I would tour, I walk on stage and go, I'm not from Dayton, Ohio. I'm from, and the whole crowd goes, Hickory, so now they say it. But yeah, I blame Last Comic Standing for that one.
do the townsies of Hickory like this or do not like?
Oh, it's mixed. It's mixed. The people who know me like it. They're cool with it. They think it's funny. They're like, yeah, that's true. And then there's because I make Hickory look that big, and Hickory's really it's a city. It's not that small, but I make it sound small. But the part that I'm from is kind of small. Mountain View. When I say Hickory, I mean Mountain View, which is a small suburb of Hickory.
Okay.
And I still do this every time I say it.
It's like you got Tourette's.
My neck is sore from doing this for 20 years. But yeah, so I made it sound really small. But there are people who, the people who live on Lake Hickory or in the city or, the ones who don't consider themselves blue collar at all, they hate that part. And I'm like, well, tough shit. That's where you live, buddy. Plus, I was gone. But I'm trying to think. What was the very first question you asked? Oh, yes.
About LA.
Yeah. So here's how that went down. Did well doing stand up as a feature act. Was winning little contests here and there, Just for Laughs, Montreal, HBO auditions, little things like that. Started getting really kind of just talked about a little bit, and then I got invited to go to Montreal, which is like the biggest comedy festival, Just for Laughs.
And what year was that?
2000.
Okay.
So in 2000, I go to Montreal. I do well. I take all these meetings afterwards with different agents and managers and production companies and networks, and they all say the same thing. It's like, well, you're funny and you're physical and you act out a lot. You should think about moving to Los Angeles and getting into acting. I have a theater degree. I went to school at NC State. I graduated with a mass communication and theater degree. So I'm like, well, okay,
sure,
no brainer. Why don't I use my career, my degree? And I had.
Yeah, did you feel comfortable like doing that, or did you were like, I still need to go take some classes?
Well, I did take classes, and I took a couple different classes when I moved to LA. I took like a scene study class. I took just a intensive casting thing, a commercial acting workshop type thing. I took like 3 or 4 different little classes like that.
Was that on your own, or did your management team kind of push you towards that direction? And
my agent, Joey, Joey Edmonds?
Oh, yes.
Joey Edmonds was my manager for that long.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, he was the guy who introduced me to my first commercial agent, and so yeah, he's when he lived in Burbank, and
yeah,
so
he's a great guy.
He's great
family.
Joey Edmonds saved me. Him and Retta actually got me out of debt because when I had first moved to Los Angeles after doing the Montreal thing, and I'm like, screw it, I got a credit card, I'll just go out there and figure it out. I just got to get out there.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and which means I couldn't do the gigs I was doing in the South because I didn't have those connections anymore. This is a whole new thing, and no one knew who I was, and it was tough. So I wasn't making any money. I was living off my credit cards. So I had to file for bankruptcy. And then Retta, Retta?
Yeah, Parks and Rec.
Yep.
And she was also on Joey's roster as well, Joey
Yes,
Edmonds.
she was. So she goes, how come you're not doing colleges? I go, how do you do that? She goes, NACA. I'm like, what's that? She goes, give me a tape. And so I gave her a tape, and she gave it to an agent. And I didn't get Joey right away. I got a different agent. God, who was it? Oh, it's killing me now.
Were you with Barbara Coppersmith, maybe?
No. It's not Three Arts.
What's
It was
city?
it was a young dude's name. South Carolina.
Josh?
Yes.
Josh Wainwright?
Yes. That's him. He was
Quantum Talent, I think it was.
Yeah,
Quantum Talent.
It changed it a couple times.
I don't know. Yeah.
But anyway, he was my first college agent, and he found the tape. I guess Reddit had given it to different agents.
Okay.
I ended up going with Joey after a while, but it was with Josh is what saved my ass, because right away I went and showcased at the NACA in Wisconsin, which at the time was its own region. Just the whole state of Wisconsin was its own region. You have Southeast, Northeast. There was just one called Wisconsin, and I'm like, all right, I'll go there in the winter, and I
charged double during the winter.
I guess so, but I booked a lot of gigs, and that got me out of debt. And then later on, I ended up getting Joey and all that sort of stuff. But
there's a comment here from James Contrato, who's a student activities director with an Alabama school. He says, John was one of my first comics I worked with in undergrad. So yeah.
Well, hey, James.
Yeah, good guy. I also have a question here from comedian Tara Brown. Do you think that you have to be in New York or LA to make it in comedy?
Depends on what you mean by make it. That's what I definitely thought in the beginning. I don't know if that's true anymore, but to some degree, yes. If you mean make it as in using comedy as a stepping stone to get to something else, which is what, movies, television, then probably so, because that's where you're going to meet an agent or a manager who has that kind of, network and pull and power. But if you just want to be a successful YouTube road comic who does radio and does your own podcast, you might not even need LA anymore. But if you want to make it to show business, probably so. I chose Los Angeles because I already had some friends living there. It's more actory based than stand-up comedy based. Like, if you want to be strictly just a stand-up comic, there's probably more opportunities for you to get on stage in New York City. I've heard that people could do 10 sets in one night in New York just by jumping from, comedy club to comedy club in one night. In LA, it's different, but there are more auditions for TV shows, commercials, and movies in Los Angeles. That was in 2000. I'm not sure how it is now, but it's a good place to go. I wouldn't go right out the gate. What I would do if I'm starting out is get as good as you can in the spot you're at. And then once you think you've mastered that, someone else will tell you need to go to LA. Someone else will be like, oh, man, you're good. You should try to go over here. You should try and do this. Other people will be telling you. You'll be thinking it, but other people will be confirming that thought.
Yeah, it'd be like Reddit telling you, hey, you should do colleges.
Yeah.
You're ready for those. Yeah. Now, I don't remember you really doing the whole one-nighter circuit so much. Did you do that, or did you just kind of concentrate on the full-time clubs?
I did some. I mean, I did Dave, what's his last name? Tribble. So I did some
famous Tribble runs.
I did some Tribble runs.
Nice.
I did
like in the South. I don't remember you working because I booked a lot for the Comedy Zone back in the day, and then when I branched out for Summit, I had a lot of one-nighters as well. So
I don't know. I feel like, and maybe this was just something comedians thought, but if you were doing good nights, then it's like you shouldn't go do the Comedy Zone in Charlotte, or vice versa. There was supposed to be some fake rivalry that I don't even know if it really existed, but I had heard people mention that before. So I stayed mostly on the Raleigh side of North Carolina before I got to the Charlotte side of North Carolina, in terms of doing stand-up. So I did some one-nighters in Winston-Salem. I did some one-nighters in, Fort Bragg on the eastern side of North Carolina and South Carolina. I did do some Comedy Zone one-nighters here and there, but I didn't focus on just that. Like I had no sense of routing myself. I was just like, I'll take whatever I can get. I remember doing a gig in Fargo, North Dakota. And the very next night, I was supposed to be on stage in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And this is before I could afford a plane ticket. So I had to drive. As soon as I got off stage, I didn't watch the rest of the show. I was a feature act. I didn't even watch the headliner. I left. I got paid early, and I just drove all night. And I got to Myrtle Beach, and I was opening for Tim Wilson. And I walked in, and he could tell I had been driving all night. He's like, "Good Lord, what happened to you?" You know, and I'm sure I did some comedies on one-nighters here and there. I just didn't. Wasn't just there. I was everywhere.
What was your favorite club you've ever worked in the past, or like whether it's closed or open now? Like, what's your favorite club besides Good Nights?
Right. It's not even that. It was that. Lately, it's either Nashville Zanies or Denver Comedy Works downtown.
Okay.
Those two clubs, it's like a cakewalk. I mean, if you're moderately funny, they're going to love you. Everyone seems to be in a good mood. And this is prior COVID. Everyone seems to be in a good mood. They're ready to laugh. It's good for me because it's both of those cities, Nashville and Denver, have a little bit of blue collar, but they also have city in them. You know, they're major cities. They have a lot of people that live there. They're open-minded. They got a little bit of blue collar. So they're like me. You know, I'm like a Metro Jethro. You know, I'm country-ish. So it makes sense for me.
Yeah. I went to the Colorado Club for the first time in February, and it was the most constricted I felt in a seat at a comedy club.
Which one?
And the Comedy Works in Denver.
Oh, yeah.
I know you probably don't sit in those seats because you're on stage, but you are jammed in like sardines. So now thinking with the COVID and 6 feet distancing, I don't know how the hell these clubs are going to open back up again. So.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and Raleigh was a great place to start. It definitely gave me confidence. Raleigh still is, one of the best clubs on the East Coast. They got a lot of good headliners in there, and they packed them in there as well. And that was one of those rooms as well. If you were moderately funny, you're going to feel like you're a genius. And I remember it's in a weird way I got spoiled there because I was used to doing well every time. And then I remember the first time I did stand up outside of the comedy club, and boy, was my confidence shot after that because I felt like, it must be like this everywhere. And I did some one-nighter in Winston-Salem. It was at a pool hall. And me and this other comic walked in, and we walked up to like the manager and we go, "Oh yeah, so with the comics," he says this, "Oh shit, that's tonight, huh?" And I'm like, "I think it is, yeah." He's like, "All right, well, hang on a minute, let me get you set up." And we're like,
"This is like 10 minutes from showtime."
Yeah. And he's like, you see him like grabbing a dirty mic stand and a mic. He's the cord's too small, and he's trying to figure out how to hook it up to this. It's in a corner of a corner of the room where there's a window behind it, so people just walk past you and look in there and look at you. And I remember the guy saying like he turned off the game. There's some game at the bar. Like
I'm surprised he did that.
Well, he did it, and people right away were mad. And he goes, "Sorry, it's well, we're doing comedy night, so let's check out these guys." And I'm like, "Oh, hi. Woo! Good to be here." And I remember people were mad at us. They were mad that we were there. And I'm like, I just had to, I was like, I guess I have to do 25 minutes or I won't get paid.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, it was tough. It was brutal. It was torture.
So what is the worst gig you've ever encountered?
Worst gig.
Surely you have one that like in your Rolodex that you're like, that's it. 2001 Topeka or whatever.
I'm trying to think of what, like, worse for me, worse for the crowd, worse for the club. I will say one of the toughest, weirdest, dumbest, where I got mad. I was doing a gig in Orlando at the Improv. This was the old Improv that used to be downtown. The owner was the same guy who was that shady manager of the Backstreet Boys, and
Lou Pearlman.
Yeah.
Got a story about him as well.
So I'm headlining there, and it's a Wednesday night. Small crowd. There's maybe 30 people there, and things are going okay. For a Wednesday, it's okay. And then all of a sudden, a waitress walks up, and she's got a shot. And she goes, "Here, this is your shot this is your welcome to Orlando shot. We do this to all the headliners." I'm like, "Oh, cool. I said, "What is it?" She goes, "That's a redheaded slut." I'm like, "Oh, that's easy to do." And I said, "Cheers, everybody. First night, Orlando, blah, blah, blah." I went, "Nope." And it was strictly Tabasco sauce with 151, something in it. I don't do spicy stuff. I literally turned red. My throat kind of swole up. I started sweating, and snot was coming out of my nose. And it went from like a funny joke to like now I'm berating the staff. Like I'm yelling at people. Like, why would you do that to your headliner? I could die right now. And I got mad. I actually told the crowd, "Let's all leave. Don't pay your bill. Let's get out of here." Jeez. And I almost threatened, like, "I'm not coming
They
back."
love to hear that.
No, they don't.
Don't pay your bill.
You try to kill
leave.
your comedian. All politeness is off the table after that. So I'm like, and I don't say that unless you try to kill me. So I was like, told the crowd, "Let's get the hell out of here. Screw this place." And no one ever fessed up to who did it. I still have my theory of who organized that, but no one ever fessed up to it. And it was a weird weekend. And that club doesn't exist anymore.
Well, neither does Lou Pearlman.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right. It starts from the top and it trickles down. See?
Oh my goodness. So, all right. So this is the part of the show where, it's the check drop. You can just talk about whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to plug. You want to talk about your new, podcast number 5 that you're doing?
Yes.
or whatever.
Well, I'm very excited about my podcast called Country-ish. We've got celebrities on my podcast, even though I'm in Hickory. Also, it's an award-winning podcast. We are ranked in the top 3 of new podcasts, according to the World Podcast Federation.
Nice. That's awesome.
If you go to World Podcast Federation, you'll see us up there. But anyway, celebrities such as, perhaps you've heard of John Stamos.
I've heard.
Well, we have his brother, Marcus Stamos, on my podcast. Perhaps you've heard of Alan Jackson.
Yes.
Alan Jackson is the producer of my podcast. He's on the show.
Nice.
And another guy named Sebastian, he's a man of mystery. He's 6 feet 7 inches tall. And anyway, we have fun segments. We do small town news. I found my old high school journal. When I moved back home, I found, and I'm not a guy who keeps a journal. It was a project our English teacher made us do. So I found my old high school journal, and I read random entries on the show. What was I thinking about when I was 17?
Oh my goodness.
I'll give you a spoiler alert, girls and football. But so we read those on the show. I'll let my friends make fun of me. We do another one called Remember Me, where I pull out the old yearbook. And you know how you write in someone's yearbook, stay in touch, call me anytime. Well, that's what I do. It's been 30 years, but I call up these old phone numbers. And mostly it's their parents who never changed the phone number.
Still have the landline.
Yeah. So I just call them up and talk to them. And and we do another one called How Much Is That Screen Actors Guild Residual Check? You would love this one. I still get checks in the mail from the Screen Actors Guild for past crap I've done, movies.
Like
sitcom.
Harold and Kumar's.
Harold and Kumar, Eastbound and Down, HBO, Into the Storm, Rodney sitcom.
You get that twice a year, monthly? How does that work?
It's random. I get them probably, I probably get at least 3 or 4 a month.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll get like 8 at once. And sometimes I get nothing for a month, but it's just random. And so when I get these checks, I'll take it on my podcast and I make people guess. If you get the right amount, if you get it exactly right, I give you the check, and the closest person wins the game.
Oh, nice.
They don't get the check.
What's the highest amount it's been, and what's the lowest amount it's been?
Lowest amount's probably like 3 or 4 cents.
Okay.
There was actually a bar in Studio City when I lived in Los Angeles called Residuals. And if you walked in with the lowest check, that you get to drink for free that night, and then put your check up on the wall.
Nice.
The highest would have been before all of this when I was doing the Dodge Hemi commercials, because my agent had worked in the deal. Like, he was a good agent. So not only did my appearance fee go up, but my residuals went up. So around the 5th or 6th commercial, when these commercials were airing a bunch, those residual checks were crazy. I would get one in the mail for like, I don't know, $35,000.
That's awesome.
And be like, oh, and I forgot all about this. It's great. It's mailbox money, you know?
Yeah.
Stuff that you already did, and they're still paying you for it. That's the best.
Now, would there ever be a chance that they bring that back?
You know what's funny? So I shot my own pilot when I moved back home. And All Things Comedies, you know, before COVID, we were supposed to be shopping this around. I had to cancel all that stuff. But I shot this pilot. It's called Hickory Live, and it's a scaled-down Tonight Show. I came out to Cloggers. We filmed it at a barbecue place with an audience. I had segments. I did a monologue. I have a sidekick, all that stuff. So in that show, we made a fake commercial about what if the Hemi guy had switched sides like the Verizon Wireless guy did.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, Verizon Wireless is now over at Sprint. So what if the Hemi guy switched automotive companies? And we shot a fake commercial where now my character is grown up, sophisticated, drives a Prius. He's very white collar, listens to NPR. I'm in a Prius. 2 guys pull up next to me in a Dodge Ram truck. They're looking at me like, what is that, a hybrid? And then, so we shot a fake commercial, and hopefully someone will pick it up and make a real deal.
Well, I think you could start Googling higher ups of marketing over at the Toyota factory and see if they bite at it.
Yeah, it don't have to be a Prius. It could be an electric car. It could be.
Get your agent on that.
Well, yeah. Everyone's
He's
not
got time.
Yeah.
I promise he's got time right now.
I'm going to call him Joey Edmonds.
Well, he passed away.
Oh, well, never mind. Well, his daughter, Kate, she's probably doing something.
She is no longer in the booking business. I believe she is still in the entertainment business. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll figure out something.
I'm sure you will. Well, dude, thanks for coming on the podcast, and good luck with your health and your family's health, and speedy recovery for everybody there in Hickory.
Yes, sir. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you having me on, and I'd like to get you on my podcast sometime.
Oh yeah, I've got time.
That's right. We'll do it. We'll do a comedy swap here.
All right. Anybody out there listening or watching need a comedian? SummitComedy.com. Hit me up, and we'll see you on the flip side. All right, guys. Bye.
See you, buddy.